All right, finally, we got to the second half of the training, which I'm so excited to show you because this is the stuff that I do now. All right, so the core 4 are the things that you have to know in order to do the next 4 things that I'm going to show you. All right, and so the first 4 is about stuff you can do to let other people know about the things you sell. Now we talk about how to get other people to let them know about the stuff you sell. Okay, so here we are. We're getting to lead getters. You are here. You're like, what's a lead getter? Oh, I will tell you. Get people who get you more leads. So building a $100 million leads machine is all about leverage. So I talk about leverage a lot. It's imbued in the logo that we have at acquisition.com because it's so important to me. So leverage, simply put, is the difference between what you put in and what you get out. So if you put a little bit in and get a lot out, you have lots of leverage. You have high leverage. If you put a lot in and get a little bit out, then you have low leverage. Okay? So we want to do the things that get us the most for the time and effort we put in. One of the things I like to hit on with this is that you don't mistake leverage for speed. All right? A person can only move so fast. It's not about going from 200 calls to 400 calls. It's about how can I make one call that gets me 1,000 calls? That's leverage. Okay? So a person who's 1,000 times ahead of you isn't moving 1,000 times faster. They physically can't. They're just doing different stuff. So the future that feels so far away from you with leverage is often a lot closer than you think. And so there's only 2 people who can let strangers know about the stuff you sell. You and other people. And there are more of them than there are of you. And so I want to walk you through 4 scenarios that illustrate the concept of leverage because this is going to set the frame for everything we're going to talk about in the second half of this training. All right? So let's say scenario 1, you are the lead getter. You're the person who gets the leads for your business. So you do the core 4 all day, every day by yourself, and you get enough leads to pay the bills. That's awesome. Congratulations. You were a solopreneur. You're a self-starter. Amazing, right? And so you're doing the 100 every single day. You're doing the roll of 100. Scenario 2 is you get a lead getter. So you only do the core 4 for one day, and then you say, hey, man, I can show you how to do this. Do you think you could do this for me every day? And that guy says, sure. And so all you did was you did 100 outreaches, you got one guy, and then he does it now every day on your behalf. And I use he because it's easier for me gender-wise to just stick with it. All right? You can replace whatever you want. So now that person does it forever. Think about the leverage there. You did one day of work, and now you still consistently get the same number of leads as you were before. Significantly more leverage, right? Right. For one day of work, we got 365 days in someone else. Not bad. How about scenario 3? You get lots of lead getters. So you work every single day. That's the top line of every day I work and I do 100 dials, 100 outreach, 100 DMs. And then every new day, I get another lead getter. So I got lead getter 1 the first day, and he started the next day. I got lead getter 2, they started 2 days later. I got lead getter 3, they started 3 days later. And you can see now, 3-4 days into my lead getting, I've got 3 people doing 100 a day each. I'm getting more than I ever did on my own. Not bad. I wonder if we can do better. Scenario 4, you get a lead getter who gets lead getters. And you can see where I'm going with this. So you get a recruiter. You do cold outreach, you run paid ads, you make content saying, I'm looking for a recruiter who can help me find cold callers, who can help me find the people who can make media with me, who can help me XYZ. And then those people, that one recruiter, brings lead getters for you. So they then bring cold callers in. They then bring cold emailers in. They then bring a content team in. They then bring a media buying team for paid ads in. And now that one day of work creates endless leads for you. That is leverage. And so if you see me being able to take the time to make this video rather than calling people every day in order to get the 20,000 leads a day that our portfolio companies get, it's because I have more leverage. And this is what I'm trying to show you how to do. And so this is now the more complete picture of the core 4. So the core 4 are the things that you do. And the other 4 are the 4 types of lead getters. So if you follow this in the arrows, you tell people about your stuff, and then others tell people about your stuff on your behalf using the core 4. And so, for example, if I do cold outreach to a customer and I get a customer, and then that customer tells other customers using warm outreach or makes a post, then that customer told other people about my stuff without me doing anything. That is significantly more leverage. This is the complete picture of advertising. This is the point of this book, and I had to go through the core 4 to get you to this point so that we can scale. This is how you make a $100 million leads machine. All right? The first is how you make a few $1 million, $10 million, maybe 20. This is how you build an empire. So there are 4 types of lead getters, which is 4 types of other people who can get other leads for you. The first are customers. The second are employees. They work for you. They do it on your behalf. Next are agencies. They sit outside of your business, but still do the same core 4, again on your behalf, but they just sit differently, and there's a different way to deal with them. And then finally, you have affiliates. All right, affiliates are some of the most complicated, but again, some of the highest scale way of getting huge amounts of traffic and leads into your business on an ongoing basis for one-time work. And so now that we understand where we sit in this thing, and the objective of the lead getter section is to give you the most leverage, as in you get more leads for the time you put in. Now let's dive into the first one, which is getting customers to refer you more customers. Referrals. We hit last. Another fancy word for referrals is just word of mouth, right? So I'm gonna tell you a quick story, how referrals work, why most businesses fail, and a quick conclusion around this. All right, so let's dive in. Way back when, I started running ads for Gym Launch, right? And I was the only media buyer, and I was pretty good at running ads, and so I pretty much just ran them. And so we are now scaling, and we're doing 500,000 a week at this point. So this is 2 years into the business, and things are just ripping and roaring. And we're now back at my wife's parents' house, which is where this whole kind of story had started, except I was some guy from the internet who was crashing there because he didn't have a place to stay. But now we made enough to buy their house every single week, which was a kind of a cool thing for me, you know, and now we're on good terms and they don't think I'm a bum, which is cool. That being said, all of a sudden I was sitting on the couch with Layla and she says, hey, you know, the sales were soft the past few weeks. I was like, huh. She's like, can you check the ads? And I was like, sure. So I pull the ads up, and I have this sea of red. And so anybody who's ever run paid ads knows that that if you have a bunch of red, it's like rejection notices, ban notices, whatever. And all of our ads were turned off. And I start bursting out laughing. And she's like, what? And I said, how many sales did you say we did 2 weeks ago? She's like, 21. I was like, how many did we do this week? And she said, 15. I was like, okay. So I've got good news and I've got bad news. Which one do you want? And I was like, well, the bad news is I'm not as good of a marketer as I get credit for, because the ads have been off for 2 weeks. And she looked at me like, are you kidding me? How did you not check this for the last 2 weeks? Which shows you how much attention I was putting to it. I was like, but whoa, you want to hear the good news? And she's like, what? I was like, we have a lot of word of mouth. So the real is that the first 12 months of us being in business, we got 100-to-1 return on advertising. And so was it even the advertising that we were running in paid ads, or was it just that I happened to spend a certain amount of money and we had so much word of mouth it didn't matter? I don't know. Can't tell you. But I will tell you is that I put this to the test. And so after finding that out, a few months later, I was actually on stage at this event. This is this exact event. And so we have 700 people in the room, all who had paid $42,000 a year to be there. And I was trying to illustrate the point of how important word of mouth was. And so I said, okay, everybody, time to raise your hands. We'll do a little interactive thing. So who here, raise your hand, found out about Gym Launch from another gym owner? And as soon as the words left my mouth, I was like, oh shit, I really hope that people raise their hand, otherwise it will really make my point look bad. And so like nothing happened for a second. And then a couple guys raised their hand. I was like, okay, there's a few. That's really not that encouraging, but okay. And then a few more raised their hand. And then a few more raised their hand. And then the entire room had their hand raised. And I had my hand raised this whole time still. And I said, look around. I was like, that's the power of word of mouth. And it was this visual representation of how powerful having a good product is. Because fundamentally, advertising is people finding out about your stuff. And either you can do that or other people can do it on your behalf. And so if you think about 2 scenarios, let's say you work on a product for 2 months and then you launch the product. And it's pretty good, but it's not great. And you spend the rest of your life marketing it to try and get people to buy it. Now, contrast that with a product that you took a year or 2 years. And when I say took a year, it might be 2 years of experience. It might be 5 years of experience, not necessarily working on that product, but working on a skill set, right, that you eventually would learn and get good at. So contrast that with something that took 2 years. For example, this training in this book took 2 years for me to put together. Contrast that, and then with the hopes that after it gets launched, every single month from that point thereafter, people tell other people about it. And so the first book that I launched, $100 Million Offers, to this day sells more copies every month than it did the month before with no paid advertising. Like that book, in terms of its sales alone, qualifies it as a portfolio company for context. And I showed that only to say that there's enormous power and leverage today's social media more than ever in terms of the power of word of mouth. And more people than ever look at reviews, they ask their friends. And so, like, it's never been more important to make something exceptional. And so I tell this story to illustrate how important referrals are and how it is worth the time and effort to make the product that much better, because it will make your advertising life easier. You'll be able to outcompete everyone, because if I advertise to get book buyers in, and I know one book buyer gets me 10 more book buyers on a long enough time horizon, I can outspend everyone. And that is the ultimate lever to be able to make every other type of advertising work. Because then every month, even if you did zero advertising on your own, you still grow. And that's the power of word of mouth. So that's the quick story. So let me explain how these work. So a referral happens when somebody, a referrer, sends an engaged lead to your business. Anyone can refer, but the best referrals come from your customers, okay? That should make sense. The reason for that is because they're worth more. So people who are referrers, who come in as a referral, are worth more. They have higher lifetime gross profit. They tend to spend more and spend it faster, and they cost less. So if we're talking about having a 3-to-1 or higher LTGP to CAC ratio, what's better than costs nothing and spends more? Hardly anything, right? And referrals, unlike other things, unlike every other method of advertising, are quadratic in nature rather than linear. So let me explain. So linear inputs to outputs are, I spend $100 in ads, I get $500 back. And so I keep making that trade, and that is a linear equation. I could spend 1,000 and get 5,000, I spend 10,000 and get 50,000. It's a linear equation. The same works with outbound. If I do 100 outreaches and I get $500 of value back, same thing as it scales all the way up. With referrals, you can have one person tell 2, 2 tell 4, 4 tell 8, 8 tell 16, and so forth. It can compound into and of itself. And once your referral churn, so referral growth, outpaces your churn of customers, it means your growth will compound forever. And so if there's one thing that you can solve in your business, it's that. Because it means if you crack that one equation, meaning you get more people who refer than people who leave your business every single month, you will grow forever and incredibly profitably because you have no cost to acquire customers. This is the holy grail, and this is where we're trying to get to. And so if you look at percentage of clients who refer monthly minus percentage of clients who churn monthly, if that number is positive, that is the monthly compounding growth rate of your business. So if 10% of people refer me a customer and 5% churn every month, then my business will compound, grow at 5% per month. Really good. And so, number one, if referrals are greater than churn, then you grow without any advertising at all, forever. If referrals are equal to churn, then you need other advertising to grow your business, but you will maintain. A lot of people are here. And 3, if referrals are less than churn, you've got to advertise just to break even. Boo. That's also a lot of people. And when that happens, you kind of enter the hamster wheel of death, which is you're like, I need more leads, and then more people come in because your shit sucks, and then they leave. And then you have to say, like, I need more people, more leads, and then you keep running around this thing. And it sucks. It's terrible. And the thing is, I can describe this because I've been there. And it's because I got really good at advertising because I was really bad at product. Just being real. And until my product became advertising, I was never good enough. But when my product became advertising and sales, that itself became an exceptional product. And so it was the first time I ever got to experience what that was like. And since then, I've never wanted to build a business without it, which is having a product that was so good that people tell other people about it. It just makes your life a lot easier. And I'll just leave it there. It makes your life a lot easier. If you talk to any massive business owner, they know that at scale, the only thing that really works over time is word of mouth. Because the efficiency of media decreases over time. Like there's massive inefficiencies as you reach scale. So you have to have something else that compounds in the other direction to keep your costs low, which is people telling people about your stuff. All right? So let's walk into number 3, which is why most businesses fail. Number 1 is that their product isn't as good as they think it is. And the second is they just don't ask for them. They don't ask for referrals. So let's break down each of these. So the business owners, they're like, man, my dry cleaning business is amazing. If I just had more customers, it's like, dude, if you had more customers, they would all just find out that your shit's mediocre. And the real talk is that most people are average, and half of people are below average. But the good news is if you're watching this, you're at least trying to get better, which means you might be above average, or at least you will be. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So you're not making as much money as you want because you're not as good as you think you are. So problem number 1 is the product isn't good enough. So I'm going to walk through this mental framework for you, which is the price-profit-value relationship, okay? The value is what they get. That's the top of this little chart here. All right? The price is what you charge, and the cost is what it costs you. All right, so the difference between the value and the price is goodwill. That's fancy terms, customer surplus, if you want to talk to the economics people. But I just call it goodwill. All right, I paid $10 for a burrito. I would have paid $12. $2 of goodwill go to between me and the business. I like that business more, right? Here's a fun little example for you. If I went and took a Chipotle burrito, same exact burrito, and Chipotle just started selling it for $50, would I then feel like it was a ripoff? I don't use the word ripoff in general because I believe in fair exchange, but some people might. And so there is a bidirectional relationship between the price and the value that people perceive and ultimately the goodwill they get. And so you're like, wait, Alex, I feel like that's contrary to the offers book where you said, wait, there's 3 wines and the most expensive wine was valued more. Well, the answer is yes. It's bidirectional. It goes both ways. And so understanding that is why pricing is one of the largest levers in making more profit in the business. Fundamentally, the reason lead magnets work is because we force goodwill. We create something that has 0 cost to them, and so any value they get above 0, obviously the cost, they have some time involved, but from a pricing perspective, there's no price cost. Any value they get creates goodwill. That's how lead magnets work. And so ideally, we want to create goodwill with every interaction that someone has, so we reinforce them for doing business with us, and they want to do more of it. All right? Now, on the left side of this, you have somebody at the top, so if they get significantly more value than the price, they become a referrer. If they're neutral, they don't say anything. And if they're negative, they get less value than you charge them, they will hate you. All right? And the key is, okay, well, I could decrease my price, that would increase my goodwill, but that might decrease my profit. And that's how the 3 interplay together. So, you're like, okay, well then, what do I do? You increase the value, because that's the one thing you can control. You can't control how they're going to perceive the value, but you can control the things that get the most percentage of people to receive value. All right? Because if we move that top line as far as we can up, it increases our ability to change our price and still get profit and get goodwill, right? So the big limiter on this whole equation is how high we can set this value thing. So there's 6 ways that I prefer to use to focus to get more value out of the things that I sell, all right? Provide more to my customers. So you'll find that these also correspond with how advertising works, which is great because I love things corroborate. So just like when we were making ads, we had call outs and calls to action, so that's 1 and 6, and then we had our value equation in the middle. Well, we're going to use that exact same framework to actually make better products. So call outs, sell better customers. Fundamentally, if you sell to only rich people, or people who can afford your thing, or people who are qualified in a better way for your thing, you will get better results. And in a real way, if you increase the quality of your prospects, you will increase the quality of your product. Because a smart person can get more out of a product than a dumb person. Or a qualified person can get more out of a product that has specific qualifications than somebody who's unqualified. So I'll give you a real world example. So at Gym Launch, we figured out, after doing a huge meta-analysis of our customers, that gym owners that were the most successful had 3 things in common. They had a signed lease, so they actually had a physical location. They had at least 1 employee, and they had at least 30 customers. So if someone has all 3 of those things, they'll make a ton of money with their thing. So what happened? Well, we told the sales team that. We said, if they don't have these 3 things, do not sell them. What else did we do? We told the marketing team, say this in all of our marketing. These are the things that we're looking for. If they don't have these 3 things, tell them this is not for them. So what happened? We sold better people. Guess what happened after that? Our average results went up. Guess what we could do after that? Market our average better results. And what do? Get better customers. And so it becomes a virtuous cycle that improves the product. But the thing is, and here's the crazy part, we didn't actually change anything about what we sold. We changed who we sold it to. And so many times I see businesses who have an otherwise good product, but they're selling to the wrong people. They're selling to an underqualified person. And the reason they do that is because they're so afraid to say no to money. But in doing that, they are unable to say no to the fast money, and in so doing, are not able to get the big money later. So the first thing that you can do is walk through that process and think, okay, if I look at all my customers, the top 20% of my customers, so you look at your whole customer list, take the top 20%, ignore the rest, and say, what do these guys have in common? Then filter for that on the front end. So that's step 1, sell better customers. Step 2 is set better expectations. So a lot of people have heard the thing, you want to underpromise and overdeliver. Unfortunately, most people overpromise and underdeliver. And part of that I will take some responsibility for, which is people read $100 million offers and said, oh, I will just make outlandish, crazy claims, and they have no ability to deliver on it. And so they actually set themselves up to have more customers hate them. And so, again, ideally, you just want to move this value line so far towards the ceiling that you can underpromise by promising this, because it's all the way at the ceiling, which is really high, even though you can't see it. It's very, very high. Just trust me. All right? And so the idea is maximize the value so you can still promise high, but it's still under what you're going to ultimately deliver. And so you'll notice a recurring theme with all the stuff that we're talking about is like, wait, so I need to make a valuable lead magnet, and I need to make a valuable core offer, and I need to only select for, yeah, that's why business is hard. But it's also very rewarding once you learn how to play the game well. And so if you set better expectations, you will get customers who come in with that price goodwill equation. You'll have way more goodwill because they expect less. And as an aside with this one, this is where having data is so important. Okay, so you noticed in the first example I gave, what did I talk about? As soon as we got better customers, they got better results, and then I talked about the average better results that we experienced. And so one of the first things that you can do to set better expectations is just set expectations for what they are. So just say, this is what the average customer gets at month 1, at month 5, at month 12, at month 24. You can just say, this is it, and not say this will happen for you. You just say, this is what has happened. And when you make that statement, there's nothing that anyone can question, because that's just fact. And so when you do it that way, it forces you or me as a business owner to just level up. So when you just take the 2 or 3 success stories you have, you inflate expectations beyond what is reasonable. Now, it does create a more persuasive ad, but it creates a worse business overall. And so the reason that Harvard can be Harvard is because they just publish the graduation rates, and they publish the average income of people who graduate from Harvard. And by doing that, people don't say, man, I'm going to be a millionaire if I leave Harvard. Maybe eventually, I don't know, but we do know that the average person from Harvard makes X as their first job. Okay, so now we know. And then that becomes the bar, because it's based on data, not sensationalism. So set better expectations, which really just means set factual expectations. Increase perceived likelihood of achievement, which means get more people better results, okay? Here's how we do it. So this is a 6-step, very simple process for you to get more people better results. Step 1 is survey the customers to find out who got the best results from whatever the service is that you do, or enjoyed the thing that you did the most. Doesn't really matter. Highest positive experience is what we're looking for. Step 2, interview them to find out what they did differently. Because fundamentally, they did something different than the people who got a poor result, or they were different. Okay? And that's the big difference between number 1 and number 3, is that if they are different, then we talk about what qualifications they have. If they do different things, that's the experience that we have engineered for them, what steps they took internally. So number 3, we look at the actions they all had in common. Step 4 is we force all the new customers to repeat the actions that got the best results. Crazy, right? Step 5, measure the improvement in the average customer results now that we've done these new actions and force everyone to do it in both speed and outcome. And then step 6, match the conditions of your guarantee to the actions that get the best results to get more people to do them. All right? This is the super sand. This is the Jedi code. All right? This is the trick. Is that once you know the activities or the actions that get the most people the best results, you then require that in order to qualify for a guarantee. And by doing that, you communicate to them, these are the things that are most important for you to get the results. And if you do these things, I can guarantee it because I know because of data. And so then it doesn't become a sales pitch. It just becomes, does this sound reasonable to you? If it does, let's do it. If it doesn't, all good. And so when you do that, people now believe they're more likely to succeed because they know exactly what it takes to get the success, and you can guarantee around it. And so again, do not do this if you hate money or helping people, because as soon as you start getting customers results, note what they did, then start guaranteeing new customers those results. But do it on the condition that they do what the best customers did, all right? The guarantee sells more people, and the conditions get them better results. You win, and they win. Number 4, decrease time delay, AKA make it faster. So one of my favorite business models in the world, look at what everyone else is doing, do it in half the time. Easiest business model in the world, works everywhere, all right? So if normally it takes you 100 days to get the average customer to win, figure out how you can do it in 7. Figure out how you can do it in 3. Figure out how to do it in 24 hours, all right? Think about the difference between the marketing agency that signs up a customer and says, okay, we're gonna start running your ads, and it'll take us about 60 days to get you spun up, and then you should start getting some lead flow. Okay, consider that with, as soon as the guy hangs up with the sales guy, his phone rings. And it's like, hello? It's like, hey, I just saw your ad. Now that's obviously a super extreme example on both sides. Well, the closer you are to that one, even though the actual deliverable is the same, how much more valuable is this one? So much more valuable. And that's what we're ultimately trying to do. So, if you have outcomes that you are trying to show them or get them to experience, there are ways that you can break this down. Because you'd be like, what if it's selling a house? Well, you break down selling a house into smaller milestones. And then what we do is we want to communicate the milestones along the way as frequently as possible. So let me give you an example. Let's say we did some sort of creative work. All right, so we have a creative design agency now. And we have this massive project that we're delivering. Well, if you update them weekly and you say, these are the 7 things we did, guess what would be more powerful than that? Every day, sending them what you did every day to move the ball forward. And so they'll get 7 times the wins if you send them 7 messages that are reinforcing or winning or rewarding for working with you. And so the idea here is, how do we maximize how many times we can reward them? And so that's where you break the big thing into lots of little steps, and you reward them every time they do it. And the more you do that, the more rewarded they'll feel, and they'll feel as though they're getting faster results. And so again, we're breaking out the ultimate outcome for the mini milestones that they have to step on along the way. Now, one of the big points that I would highly recommend doing from a tactical perspective is that we want to choreograph, especially the first 28 days of any customer coming in, or the first month of them coming on board of any business, because that is where they're the most at risk. And that's where they're making the biggest first impression of whether or not they will refer other people to your business. And so there's a huge research study that changed my life that came out that said that customers make a decision of how good a business is within the first 48 hours. Think about what happens in the first 48 hours in your business. Do you just sell someone and they get no communication? Happens all the time. I know, because I buy shit too, right? And I get no communication. And so what you want to do is make lots of micro promises and meet those promises as you said you would, because then they start to trust your word. And so you say, hey, so we just got you signed up, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to get an email within the next 30 minutes. It's going to have these things on it. And then 2 hours later, you're going to get a call from Angie. Angie's going to walk you through our client onboarding packet. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to set you up with Sandra. She's going to hop on. She's going to walk you through your new client account, log you in, get you all set up. And then from there, you should expect your ads to go live the next day. Okay. Now, guess what happens the next day? They get a notification the day that the moment their ads go live. What has happened? We set 3 or 4 micro expectations, and we've met every single one of them. Now, when they make the 5th expectation, or they set the next promise, what do I expect as a customer? That they're going to deliver on it. What would I say to my friends? They're on it. Yeah, they're airtight. I mean, they run a tight ship. That's what it looks like to have a great product. That's what it looks like to deliver faster results. And so you never want to leave them in no man's land. And so I borrowed this from Sharon Srivatsa, who's the president of Real, big real estate company, publicly traded. And he uses the term BAM-FAM, which is book a meeting from a meeting, which is you never want to leave a customer in no man's land. They should always know what happens next. So whenever you leave a meeting, they should always know when the next time they're talking to you is, when the next time so there's the baton is always being passed from person to person, from communication to communication. Otherwise, they're like, wait, what's happening? And that's when they get worried, and that's when people cancel and they leave bad reviews, all right? And as an aside here, never expect customers to forgive you. So it's much easier to not mess up the first time. But if you have a ton of goodwill, the likelihood that they do forgive you, much higher. Number 5, making the product better. Decrease effort and sacrifice. Keep making your stuff better, all right? So what we want to do here is increase ongoing value. And so the way that I do that is this 6-step process. So number 1 is that you use customer service data, surveys, and reviews to find the most common problems with your product. You say, hey, what sucks about this? What could be better? Then, step 2, figure out your fix for it. Step 3, use that feedback to improve the product. Step 4, give the new version to a small group of your struggling customers, not your best customers, to your struggling customers, or at the very least, a representative sample of customers. Step 5, get your next round of feedback. And if you solve the original problem, then roll it out to all the customers. If it didn't solve the original problem, go back to step 2 and figure out a new fix. Step 6 is if you actually did solve the problem, then move on to the next most common customer complaint and repeat the process. And you do this until the end of time. And so this cadence, just like we had the optimization cadence for split tests, this is a back-end split test. So split testing on how do I make it more efficient for me to get CAC? This is the LTGP split test. How do I make it more profitable for me to keep people, get them to pay more and stay longer? Call to action. Finally, tell them what to do or buy next. So really interesting data on this is that at a certain point, people get this little itch. They get this little itch in their wallet. And they're like, man, I need to buy something again. I'm just feeling itchy. Got to buy something. And the thing is that one of the single greatest retention tools is getting a customer to buy something else from you. And so a lot of people are afraid of offering more things to their customers. But the thing is that when that buyer's light goes on, they will satisfy that craving. And so it's either going to be with you or somebody else. And so you want to make sure that they know what to buy next. And so just like book a meeting from a meeting, you want to have one offer that always leads to the next. They should know what you want them to buy next. And you don't have to be clever about it. Be clear about it. Hey, once you go through XYZ, you would then qualify for this. And this would allow you to unlock all of these benefits. I don't think you're ready yet, but once this point happens, you will be ready. Would you like us to let you know when you are? Yes, fantastic, right? Close, clear communication, and then what happens is that people, once they are successful, because you met their expectations, they believe you when you say, these are the new expectations that I can set, and I feel reasonable in saying that we can deliver on that. And then they buy. And your lifetime gross profit goes up. And that ultimately feeds word of mouth. Okay? So, I'm going to give you one question to rule them all on fixing problem number one, which is the problem isn't good enough. Let's consolidate these 6 steps through one thought experiment. All right? So I want to encourage you to try this out with your team. This is a fun team thing. You can do it as your opening Monday meeting. So you've lost all of your customers in your business except for one. And the gods of advertising ban you from doing the core 4 and decree the following. 1, all customers must come from this one customer. It's like the Eve of your customers, okay? And then 2, violate the terms and will destroy your business and every other business you start for all eternity. Tough break, but you drew the straw and you rubbed a magic lamp and that's on you, okay? Now, the question remains, how would you treat this customer? What would you do to make their experience so valuable that they would send all their friends? What kind of results would they need to get or need to experience? What would their onboarding look like? What type of customer would you pick as that last customer? Who would you want it to be? Okay, and those are the things that you should do. So that opens up problem number 2. So I gave you 6 of the things that map to the value equation and the value statements that were within the ad of how to fix the product and make it better, all right? So I'm going to recap these real quick for you. So we sell better customers, we set better expectations, we get more people better results, we get faster results, we keep making our stuff better, and we tell them what to buy next. And by doing that, more people will tell people about the stuff you have. Okay. Now, the other reason that business owners don't get referrals is because they don't ask for them, right? Simple as that. They don't remind them that we are open for business. Please send your friends, okay? So do you know why businesses have so few referrals? They don't ask for them. Your customers, like any audience, can only know what to do if you tell them, okay? So let me give you a little case study. So Dropbox gave away free storage to customers and free storage to the friends they referred. And that referral program went viral. They 39x'd their business in 15 months. Pretty slick. Case study 2. PayPal gave $10 in credit to customers and $10 to the friends they referred. Within 2 years, the program helped them reach 1 million users. And 6 years later, they hit 100 million users. And they still use that program to this day. Would you like 100 million users? Okay, so 7 ways to ask for referrals. Number 1, one-sided referral benefit. Now, I'd personally rather pay customers than pay a platform any day of the week, right? So why would I pay the gods of money, the tech giants, money when I could just pay Cindy to send her friend Sarah, right? So be real about it and think, okay, what does it cost me off of YouTube or Facebook or cold calls, whatever, in order to get a customer? What's my total CAC? And then just say, hey, anyone want this? Because if you do, I'd rather pay you, and then that becomes the incentive for them to just bring a friend. One-sided benefit is the simplest referral program out there. That's number 1. Number 2 is the two-sided referral benefit. That's what both Dropbox and PayPal did, and what I also prefer personally, is that we pay CAC to both parties. Half goes to the referrer in credit or cash, and half goes to the friend in credit. This way, they both benefit. And it also doesn't seem like, hey, I'm only getting you to come in on this thing so I can get paid, because the other friend's going to find out. And so I found that this works really well. As a total side note, me personally, whenever we'd run things, and this isn't a local business, whenever we'd run a promotion, we'd get 25% of the customers from this play. So if I got 100 people, 25 of them, which would be about a third of the customers, 25% of the total percent, would have come from referrals. just by saying, hey, I'll give you $100 off your thing, and I'll give them $100 off too if you bring a friend. And I'd have people bring 5 friends. And you don't get, the way that referrals work is you don't get everybody to bring 1. It's usually 1 out of 10 brings 10. And so you just don't know who the influencers are in your community or your customers, and so you just got to treat them all the same. And hopefully you just get good reviews from the rest of them. And so here's a little pro tip for you. So run your paid ads for free. So in our service businesses, again, we got 25 to 30% of signups or referrals. Now here's why this is important. Because we asked for a referral the moment they signed up. So because our CAC was always above 3 to 1, if you're able to get 25 to 30% in for free, then I cover my cost to acquire all my customers simply through the referrals. And that creates a really wonderful loop of getting customers. And you know why some people don't do this? They literally don't ask. So I had a sales guy that entered one of our portfolio companies, and he started crushing everyone's numbers. So he was doing 2.5 times more sales than the second best closer. And they listened to the sales calls, they're like, I don't think he's doing anything that much different. And so we pulled the sales guy aside, we're like, yo, what are you doing? Like, I mean, we want to know, we want to figure it out. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I just ask if they, and he was selling an event. He's like, I just ask if they want anyone else to attend the event with them after they sign up. Simple as that. You know what most sales guys won't do? That simple question. And that alone, 2.5x that guy's sale compared to the number 2 guy. Just asked. He said, hey, you're going to this event. You want anybody else you think would benefit? Anybody else you want to bring? So easy, but people don't do it. It's always the fundamentals. Like, advanced businesses never don't do the basics. That's how it works. So, number 3 of the 7 ways to ask for referrals is ask for a referral right when they buy. All right, so on the sales contract or the checkout page, ask for some names and phone numbers of people they'd like to do this with. All right, so show them how they will get better results when they do it with a friend. So you want to talk about this from a selfish intent for the prospect. So if you're doing anything that requires them to work or them to do any new behavior, talk about how, and there's tons of research that supports this, that if they do it with someone else, they're far more likely to be successful. And the friend also gets value. But let's be real, people don't care about their friends. They do, but not really. All right? And so you want to frame it in the perspective of like, hey, you want to know the easiest way to double your results? Bring a friend. Who do you want to do it with? At the very least, you could have them just bring a friend and give the friend the thing for free if you want to, or have them split it with their friend, the total cost. Like there's, again, I want to show these as ways that you can think through creating referral programs more than saying these are the only ways. These are just my favorite 7 that I have actually used that have worked. There's probably way more. These are the ones that I've actually used in my businesses that have made me more money. All right, so an easy way to do it. Why would you not want twice as many customers? And a little pro tip on this is that we're not asking if they know anyone, we're asking them who they know. All right, so once someone's a customer, be more direct with the ask. Don't ask if they know, ask who. So number 4 is add referrals as a negotiation chip. So on top of that, you can ask for referrals as a way to negotiate a lower price. So in other words, if someone wants to pay $400 and your price is $500, you can give them the discount in exchange for an introduction to 3 friends. Okay, so you can ethically charge a different price for the same thing because you changed the terms of the sale. All right, this is really important, especially if you're a solopreneur, especially if you're starting out. This is a really great way, because you know what, I'll be real with you. If you're a smaller business owner and you start doing business with other business owners, they're going to try and squeeze you. And that's, I'm not saying right or wrong, it's just part of negotiations. They'll do what they're going to do, right? And so what you can do is say, okay, I get that I'm not as big as you, fine. And you probably are trying to get me to negotiate on my price because you see that I don't have some big building. Fine. Well, I can't, out of ethics, charge you differently than I charge someone else for the same services. But if you're willing to send me somebody else, I can lower the price to X. How does that sound? And so what happens is you actually change the terms of sale. You add another variable to the negotiation. And so, again, I'm starting with 3, and I do that on purpose because you might have already been like, oh, I'll just ask for 1. Ask for 3 for a $100 decrease. And if they say no, then be like, all right, how about 2? Right? And so this gives you a chip to negotiate with to both close the sale and bring 2 more customers in. And again, this is what to do if someone asks for a discount. There's other things you can do too, but this is one that brings referrals in. Number 5, referral events. So this is where people get points, credits, or dollars, or even just bragging rights for bringing friends within an explicit time period. All right, so referral events are typically, they typically last from 1 to 4 weeks, and whenever you run one of these events, sell every one of the benefits of working with other people. It's the same reason that we're selling them earlier. Hey, want to double your results, want to triple your results? Do it with a friend. And so bring a friend, accountability challenge, bring your spouse, accountability buddy. Like, it doesn't matter whatever you're doing. If you can get them to bring a friend to do the thing, they will be significantly more successful. And I've just seen this repeated so many times. These events drive depth in the community and generate even more referrals. And if you can get people to invite friends to these things, they basically become sales events for you. And then they're surrounded by other customers who are the only ones who come to these events, who love you, and then they sell them on coming in. This is really good for local businesses. Number 6, ongoing referral programs. So instead of running a limited duration referral program, you talk about the benefits of doing things with other people all the time. So think about this in your free content, in your outreach, in your paid ads, etc. So after a buddy did this is one of my buddies, he saw a 33% boost in total signups. For context, he had 1 million people buy customers to his event. 1 million people buy customers to his event. And 250,000 of them said they were referred. And all he did was change his language patterns. So all he did throughout, every time he made content, every time he made posts promoting the thing, he said, hey, you want to do this with somebody else, all right? You're not in this alone. You want to have other people. You want to have a support network. Like, hey, if you can do it on your own, that's great. But if you can do it with someone else, it's even better, right? Not hard ask, just soft asking the whole time through. And because he had such a massive marketing event, he couldn't directly attribute it, but all he knew is that he started doing it this way, and he got a 3rd increase. For me, very impressive. And so number 7, there it is, number 7. This one's really savage. Create bonuses for people who 1, refer, and 2, leave a testimonial. So, a few examples. If I have a different level of service, which might be VIP service, it might be faster response times, it might be more times a day, it might be premium session times, it might be a course, it might be a PDF, it might be an unlockable, it might be an event. It doesn't matter what it is. You have some bonus, something that's very valuable, and you say, you can have this for free, but the only way you can do it is if you send me a friend and you leave a review or you leave a testimonial. And you'd be amazed at how many people, and you advertise, oh man, so-and-so did this thing, or oh, this is one of the benefits from our VIP people. Well, how do I get VIP? Oh, you got a 1 and 2. Got to send me a customer and leave a review. That, far more valuable than money, especially if you can tie it to status. Because a lot of people feel weird accepting money, bringing a friend, but if you give them an unlockable bonus, all bets are off. And you tied status to them doing the thing that you want them to do. And ultimately, also make them more successful, because when they do it with a friend, they are more successful. All right? So, little pro tip. This is important. This is a writer-downer. Match the thing you give with the thing you sell. So if you're going to give any kind of referral bonus, like the free storage for Dropbox or the free credit for PayPal, you don't want to, like if you're not giving away money, you have to match it to the thing you sell. Try to match the referral incentive to the core product. For example, if you have a t-shirt manufacturing company, giving away free t-shirts makes a lot of sense, because your incentive will attract people who actually want t-shirts, and then they're more likely to become paying customers. Hint, that's why gift cards work so well. If you use gift cards to give to your customers to bring with their friends. So as an aside, when I said credit earlier, that credit that you give them, you can give someone, hey, when you sign up, I'm gonna give you this $200 credit card. It's good here only. Give it to a friend of yours. It's a different way of positioning, bring a friend. That way they're giving a gift to their friend, and then the friend is like, well, I wanna spend it, so then they get credit from their friend as doing a solid for them, right? And then the friend feels like they should spend it and they come in, all right? Now, on the other hand, if you give away an amazing limited edition t-shirt for your IT service business, it may or may not attract people who want IT services. So try and match the thing that you give away with the thing you sell. Just being clear about that. Otherwise, you just might get people who want the thing and have nothing to do with your core service.
So we just went over 7 of the tactics of how to ask for them better. And so what I want to do is give you a real-world example of combining all those things into one killer play. Now, to be clear, this isn't the only thing you can do. I just want to show you that you're really only limited by your imagination of how to mix and combine those 7 into ultra mega referral plays. And so this is one of my favorite ones, which is around gift cards. All right, and so one of the ways you can do this is give a gift card to every single person who signs up for whatever it is that you sell. And you can make that gift card up to 1/3 of the cost of the thing that you sell. And ideally, that'd be based on the gross profit of it. Remember, LTV to CAC, keep it over 3, same concept. And so then you say, hey, you can give this gift card to a friend of yours if they sign up with you. And now the gift card, here's a little wrinkle for you. You add an expiration date to it within 7 days or 14 days from the date you gave it to them. And that'll force them to use it. And this gives the referrer, the customer, status when they give it to their friend. So rather than saying, hey, join this service or sign up for this thing that I'm doing for $2,000 off, they say, hey, I got this gift card for $2,000. Do you want it? I don't want to waste it. Right? So it's seen as a much bigger deal for them and a much bigger gift from one friend to another. And so here's a couple more wrinkles around this. you can still use the hinge method, the three-way introduction with this tactic, right? So then have them text a picture to their friend of the gift card. And so here's some bonus points if you want some advanced tactics on this, is that if you write the friend's name on it before texting the picture, it makes it feel personalized and gives you a legitimate reason for asking for the friend's name, wink, and their contact info. And you can also sell gift cards at 90% off as purchasable gifts. So this is great for like holiday season stuff, Black Friday stuff. You just say, hey, like, I'm selling gift cards for $2,000 for $100, right? And people like lose their mind, and you say, hey, limit 2 per person. And so now you put some scarcity around how much each customer is able to buy these things, and then stocking stuff. And that means that you literally get paid to get new customers. And I can't really think of a much better way to make money than doing that. And so this is just an example, all right? So you think about that, like hopefully that gave you a couple different ideas, because that combined a few of the concepts that we had earlier. But I don't want you to carbon copy this. I want you to think about, okay, how can I use this in my own business? And I use this as a gift card. You could also have it as a credit or a discount or any of those things to ultimately get more people in. But if there's one thing that I can hopefully impress upon you when it comes to referral stuff, is you have to think about the referrer. And how can I give that person status? And so you say, hey, I want you to give your friend a $2,000 gift so that you are perceived as a great friend. And because I've met and exceeded all the promises I've made up to this point, you can feel confident that when you give them that thing, they're going to get an amazing experience, so they'll only like you even more. Because you'll be like, man, I'm so glad you introduced me to that guy or that business or that company, because man, they've changed my life. And like, what better thing can you give a friend?
Conclusion. Referring is always a risk for the customer. They risk their goodwill with their friend in the hopes of getting more by showing them something cool, which is your stuff. So customers only refer when they think it's very likely their friend will have a good experience. And so just like making an offer, we want to maximize the benefits for them and minimize the perceived costs of them doing this on our behalf. And so if you have an amazing product and you make an incentive for them to do it and you give their friend a bonus, then they're increasing each of those little cracks in the armor of them not giving you what you want. And so eventually the dam breaks, and then you get the flood of referrals that you're ultimately looking for. All right? So make good stuff and ask for them. And so here's the action item. Figure out your referral percentages and churn percentages to set a baseline of your business. Then implement the 6 giving value steps to build goodwill. And then capitalize on that goodwill that you've built by improving your product by using 1 or more of the 7 ways to ask for referrals. That's how you build referrals into your business.